Hey guys, today I'll show you a science fiction thriller TV series named Agatha All Along. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In WandaVision, Agatha attempted to seize Wanda's magical power. However, she was defeated by Wanda, who had fully embraced her identity as the Scarlet Witch. In a turn of events, Agatha was stripped of her own magic. Her memories were erased, and she was trapped indefinitely in the town of Westview. Agatha is now a renowned detective in Westview. She was recently suspended for excessive force, but has been recalled for a new case. The reason is simple: no one else can solve it. Earlier that morning, dispatch received an anonymous call about a female body found by a creek. The only item on the deceased was a library card from the Westview branch. The cause of death was blunt force trauma, and it appeared she had been crushed by something heavy, suggesting this was not the primary crime scene. Agatha discovers a brooch in a nearby puddle and secretly pockets it without telling her partner. Afterward, Agatha heads to the library to investigate. The library card has no name, only a date. The librarian checks the computer and finds that the book the victim had checked was never checked out. It had been stolen 3 years prior. Furthermore, a recent fire at the library destroyed a significant number of books. Agatha deduces it was arson committed with a flamethrower and asks the chief to send officers to investigate. Meanwhile, the soil samples from under the victim's fingernails and toenails are analyzed. The results confirm the soil does not match the location where her body was found. It also contains a specific microbial deposit found only in Eastern European soil. This leads the FBI to send an agent to assist with the case. Although Agatha clashes with this agent, she cannot defy a direct order. The agent points out that the biggest mystery is the lack of drag marks or footprints from a killer. It's as if the body simply appeared out of thin air. In the afternoon, Agatha has the brooch appraised. Based on its craftsmanship and materials, it appears to be from the late 17th century, likely originating from North America or New England. The main material is cowrie shell, and the design depicts the triple goddess, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. It also contains a hidden compartment holding a lock of hair. That night, Agatha studies the known information. She writes down all the capital letters from the title of the book the victim supposedly borrowed and discovers they form a new name, the Darkhold. This is the very book Wanda took from Agatha in WandaVision, which contains the spells of the elder god Chthon. Distraught, Agatha returns home and pushes open a bedroom door with a pained expression. The room is filled with children's items, but the bed is neatly made, clearly unoccupied for a long time. A knock at the door interrupts her thoughts. It's the agent, holding a large pizza. Agatha assumes she's there to discuss the case and reveals that she has a lead. An hour before the time of death, there was a car accident in Eastview town. There were bloodstains in the back seat, and both airbags had deployed. The owner of the car was likely the one who dumped the body. However, Agatha feels she's looking in the wrong direction. Just then, a noise comes from upstairs. Agatha goes up to investigate and finds someone trying to burgle her house. The thief, seeing he's been caught, escapes through a window. Agatha quickly gives chase, but in the heat of the moment, she nearly missteps and falls. She grabs onto a pipe, lands on the ground, and sprints after the thief. As he is about to climb an iron fence, a large dog in the backyard scares him off. He turns and runs, only to be hit by a car. Agatha tells the elderly woman driving the car to go about her business, then takes the thief back to the station for questioning. The boy refuses to give his name and seems to know a lot about Agatha, repeatedly provoking her. Agatha has no time to waste on a defiant teenager, remarking how difficult it is to talk to a Riddler. She asks him directly what he was doing between 1 and 3 a.m. the previous night. The boy claims he was sleeping, but Agatha doesn't believe him. Suddenly, the crime scene photos on the table transform into a garden, and the interrogation room glass turns into a painting. The boy begins muttering to himself, completely ignoring Agatha's questions. She has no choice but to handcuff him and place him in custody. Agatha starts to question her own sanity. How could a perfectly normal crime scene photo turn into a garden? She drives to the Westview morgue to see the unidentified body for herself, but the morgue is empty. Forcing herself to stay calm, Agatha recalls the details of the body she saw. The victim was in her late 20s with green eyes. As she continues to remember, the body reappears in the morgue. A lock of scarlet hair peeks out from under the sheet. Agatha picks up the name tag, where a line of red text has appeared. October 13th, Wanda Maximoff. it becomes clear that everything that has happened so far is a spell cast by the Scarlet Witch to keep Agatha trapped. The backstory for this is all in WandaVision, so we won't elaborate further here. The agent's true purpose was to awaken Agatha and help her reclaim her name and identity. The awakened Agatha is furious. Topless, she storms over to her neighbor's house and demands to know how long she has been stuck in this wretched town. Her neighbor and everyone at the police department knew Agatha's true identity all along. They had been playing along with the charade for 3 years. Seeing her finally lucid, they are all relieved. Agatha tries to use her magic, but discovers that Wanda has taken all of her power. Just then, a knocking sound comes from behind a cabinet. Agatha pulls it aside to find the boy she arrested earlier. Before she can untie him, the witch who was posing as the agent bursts in. Previously, Agatha had the Darkhold and was too powerful for this witch to handle, but now she could be taken down with a single finger. Agatha, however, is not one to surrender easily. According to the laws of witchcraft, the other witch cannot kill her, at least not until Agatha's powers are restored. But besides this witch, many others want her dead. The witch reveals that the Salem 7 are also looking for her and will likely arrive by sunset. With that, she leaves town. As for the boy, his reason for waking Agatha is that he wants to find the legendary Witch's Road. The legend says the road grants you what you desire most, but only if you can survive to the end. The boy is confident he can complete the journey and gain magic, but Agatha has no interest in being his guide. The boy quickly tries to persuade her, arguing that she also needs the Witch's Road to regain her powers quickly. He asks if she can handle the Salem 7 in her current state. He has a point. Agatha asks for the boy's name, but a spell is attached to him, preventing her from learning it. For now, we'll just call him the boy. Ultimately, Agatha decides to seek the Witch's Road. Since it's called the Witch's Road, they need a proper coven of witches to enter. The coven's rules state that even the most destitute witches can ignite a magical spark when gathered together. As they talk, they arrive at a psychic's shop, hoping to find out if the medium inside is a witch. Agatha pretends to be a recently widowed single mother seeking to speak with her deceased husband. The psychic begins spouting nonsense while gazing into a crystal ball. Just as Agatha, unimpressed by the gibberish, is about to leave, the psychic's tone shifts. She says that Agatha is under another's control and that her powers have been stolen. Evidently, this psychic, named Lilia, is a genuine witch. However, Agatha's reputation is so infamous that no witch would willingly join her coven. Agatha gets straight to the point, explaining that she needs to enter the Witch's Road to reclaim her lost magic and that she needs a divination witch to help. Lilia responds that she's not a fool. She knows Agatha's power is to steal magic from others. She questions what would stop Agatha from stealing her magic after they successfully completed the Witch's Road. Agatha states that she cannot take Lilia's magic unless Lilia attacks her with it first. As long as they don't cross that line, it can be a win-win situation. Besides, Agatha noticed an eviction notice on the door. Lilia is about to lose her shop. Instead of a life on the run, she could join Agatha's coven and get what she wants from the Witch's Road. Lilia is finally convinced and writes down the names of 3 other witches. Assembling them would complete the coven. The boy leaves Agatha's card and tells Lilia to meet them at 5 o'clock. They then set off to find the next witch, Jennifer, who has also lost her powers. Agatha directly states that she's forming a coven and needs a potion witch like her, but Jennifer is completely unmoved. At that moment, the boy pulls out his phone, showing that Jennifer's wellness center is currently embroiled in a class action lawsuit for fraudulent misrepresentation and causing injury to consumers. The boy adds fuel to the fire, noting that even if she's found guilty, the penalty isn't severe, just some fines and 5 years in prison. However, if she comes with them, she can regain not only her freedom but also her magic. Jennifer's expression changes immediately. The boy promptly hands her a card, telling her to think it over and meet them tonight. Next, Agatha and the boy go to see the 3rd witch. This one is special. She is a protection witch named Alice, the daughter of the famous rock goddess Lorna. Rumor has it that Lorna died on the Witch's Road. Alice is currently working at a convenience store. Agatha has the boy pretend to shoplift, and, as expected, Alice runs over to stop him. Agatha uses the opportunity to get close, telling Alice she needs a protection witch to join them on the Witch's Road, her tone sounding like someone handing out flyers on the street. But convincing Alice isn't easy, especially since her mother died on that very road. Agatha stops Alice as she tries to leave, asking if she doesn't want to know what killed her mother. Alice shoves past them and leaves. With only 2 hours until sunset and only 2 witches persuaded, Agatha stubbornly refuses to find the last person. The boy has no choice but to drive back to her house. A wolf is pacing in front of Agatha's door, not a good omen. Fortunately, Lilia, Jennifer, and Alice all decide to show up for the meeting. Agatha claps her hands, ready to set off, but Jennifer points out that they're still missing a green witch. The boy asks for the last witch's name, but Lilia says she doesn't know. Her magic compelled her to draw a black heart. Only Agatha knows who that person is, but she clearly doesn't want to ask Miss Blackheart for help. To placate her persistent companions, Agatha goes next door and invites her neighbor, Mrs. Davis, to join their party. Mrs. Davis was just an extra Wanda hired to deceive Agatha, so how could she possibly be the green witch the coven needs? So when they stand in a circle and sing the witch's ballad, the door to the witch's road does not open. At the same time, the Salem Seven have arrived. The boy quickly uses a sofa to barricade the door, but a chilling presence still sweeps into the room. In the basement, Agatha also senses the danger. She deliberately insults the other witches, calling them useless for being unable to open a simple door. Unfortunately, Lilia sees through Agatha's ploy. She realizes the witch's road was a lie. Agatha was just trying to provoke them into attacking her so she could steal their magic. Suddenly, a door actually appears on the floor. Even Agatha is stunned. It turns out Mrs. Davis was more than she seemed. The boy, having rushed into the basement, sees the door and dives in without a second thought. With the seven about to break in, the others have no time to think and quickly follow. Agatha jumps in last, and the door vanishes behind them. They follow a staircase down to the entrance of the witch's road. Agatha leads the way, taking off her shoes and placing them neatly aside. The group of six hasn't gone far when Mrs. Davis protests, saying she was invited to a party and this is now kidnapping. She takes out her phone to call the police, but as expected, there's no signal. At this point, they're all in the same boat. Agatha explains that the witch's road will test their knowledge of witchcraft, with a trial for each type of ability. Hearing this, Jennifer asks how she's supposed to pass the trials without her magic. The boy suggests there must be a way, mentioning kitchen magic. He says the point of witchcraft is skill. Jennifer is curious how the boy knows all this. Mrs. Davis realizes the boy must be under a sigil, a simplified spell that hides a secret. It seems the boy's origin is a secret, which is why Agatha brought him along. He might be special. As they are deep in discussion, Mrs. Davis suddenly vanishes. The old woman doesn't believe in magic and is convinced the tunnel is just the remains of a failed public transit system, so she's wandering around looking for an exit. Just as she sits down to rest, her purse begins to sink into the ground. The others hear her scream and rush over to pull her out of a mud pit. Agatha warns everyone not to stray from the path. Just then, Jennifer looks ahead and sees a grand house at the end of a glittering road with a moon phase diagram carved on its door. Mrs. Davis steps forward and rings the bell. Agatha pushes the door open and walks in with the others following. The house is tidy and cozy. The moment the six of them enter, their clothes change. The boy quips that the space has a middle-aged person looking for a second chance vibe. They confirm that all the doors and windows are sealed shut. On the fireplace mantel is an invitation saying the witch's road cordially invites them to the first trial. On the back is a riddle. Mrs. Davis immediately guesses it's wine. They turn to see a table laden with fine wine. The boy looks for a corkscrew in a nearby cabinet, and Jennifer follows, warning him to be careful of Agatha. She mentions a rumor that Agatha sacrificed her own child for the Darkhold, and no one knows what happened to the child. Some say he died. Others say he became Mephisto's agent. The boy knows Agatha is dangerous, but recognizes she's the one who knows the most about the witch's road. After Agatha pours the wine, the other witches hesitate, but Mrs. Davis is the first to down a glass. It must be said she has a real talent for being a witch. The moment Mrs. Davis finishes her drink, a countdown starts on her digital watch. Seeing this, the others take their glasses to the sofa area and begin sipping. When no one is looking, Agatha quietly pours out her wine and places the empty glass on a cabinet. To her surprise, the glass magically refills. Meanwhile, Mrs. Davis is already drunk. She boasts that if she could smooth out her wrinkles, she'd do anything. Not just drink some fake wine to be a witch, but even drink human blood. As soon as she says this, her face transforms into a puffy, over-Botoxed visage. The wrinkles are gone, but it proves the wine is tainted. The other witches' faces soon swell up like balloons as well. Jennifer, being a potion witch, tries to identify the poison. She immediately asks Mrs. Davis if she has any other symptoms, like an itchy throat or hearing bells and the cries of fairies. Before Mrs. Davis can answer, their faces return to normal. Agatha, who had been covering her face, breathes a sigh of relief, hoping no one noticed she didn't drink. Jennifer notes that the swelling subsided too quickly and deduces they've been poisoned by the vintner's revenge. The swollen faces were just the beginning. Next would come dizziness, delirium, loss of motor function, hallucinations, and finally, death. Hearing this, Agatha plans to smash a window and escape. Jennifer tells her there's no point in running if she's poisoned. But the boy discovers the refilled glass on the cabinet and realizes Agatha didn't drink. He accuses her of cheating, insisting the coven must face the trials together. Caught, Agatha remains remains defiant, retorting that the boy didn't drink either. Jennifer points out that he isn't a coven member and is a minor who can't drink. Annoyed, Agatha smashes the wine glass to end the argument. But rules are rules. Alice picks up an empty glass from the table, and it too magically refills with a single serving of red wine. The boy says if Agatha won't drink, he will, but Agatha grabs him, takes the glass, and downs it in one gulp, appearing very protective of him. At that moment, Mrs. Davis starts hallucinating. She calls out Wanda's name twice before falling unconscious. This trial is clearly for Jennifer, the potion witch. She needs to create an antidote before the countdown ends. The antidote for the vintner's revenge requires frankincense, the intestines of a eusocial insect, and a corpse that has been decaying for at least 30 million years. In simpler terms, plankton preserved in petroleum. The group quickly splits up to gather the ingredients. Agatha and Lilia go to the garage for gasoline but find it empty. They head upstairs to search through cosmetics, hoping to find some organic compounds. Meanwhile, Alice and the boy smell the scent of massage oil. But before Alice can act, the poison's side effects kick in. She sees white mist coming from a room ahead and pushes the door open. Inside, her mother, Lorna, is sitting at a vanity mirror. Crying like a giant baby, she tells Alice that her grandmother died that day. Even from thousands of miles away, she could feel the moment she passed, and now it was her turn. Lorna then drinks something from her hand. The boy hears a noise and rushes over to help Alice up, telling her he has found the frankincense oil. At the same time, the other witches begin to experience hallucinations. Jennifer sees a man in a lab coat who viciously criticizes her as a nuisance before pushing her head into a sink full of water. When Jennifer struggles back up, the hallucination is gone. Lilia sees a beautiful little girl and follows her down a hallway. The walls around her are covered in ancient-looking vines. Lilia reaches a room and sees a frail old woman and a black-robed skeleton. Terrified, she stumbles back, bumping into Agatha. The vision disappears. Meanwhile, the boy and Alice bring the frankincense to Jennifer, then go to the pantry to find the eusocial insect intestines, which is just honey despite the scary description. Soon after, Agatha and Lilia return. Suddenly, the living room window cracks, and salt water begins to leak in. It seems they are trapped underwater and the glass won't hold for long. Jennifer uses the kitchen sink as a cauldron, pouring in the ingredients one by one. The liquid in the sink begins to glow, but Jennifer realizes she has forgotten a crucial step. She doesn't know how to boil the potion, as the sink has no heating element. Fortunately, the boy has an idea. Kitchens often have a slow cooker, a trendy appliance that can heat water to a specific temperature to cook meat evenly. They quickly plug in the machine, stir the liquid counterclockwise with their dominant hands, and then each adds a strand of hair. Just then, Agatha hears a fat baby crying. She too is now in a traumatic hallucination. She walks toward the crying cradle, but when she lifts the blanket, she finds the Darkhold inside. Agatha lets out a cry of anguish, but Jennifer quickly snaps her out of it. Agatha immediately composes herself, pulls out a strand of hair and throws it into the sink. The group holds hands around the sink, silently wishing to live. If the potion is correct, it should turn sky blue, but it turns green. Jennifer, in a panic, realizes she must have forgotten something important. With only 50 seconds left, her anxiety makes it harder to think. In the past, she could have solved this with a wave of her hand. Agatha grabs the hysterical Jennifer, helping her regain her composure. She reminds her that they can take her magic, but they can't take her knowledge of potions. In the critical moment, Jennifer remembers they are missing one ingredient, the blood of someone who isn't poisoned. Agatha immediately cuts the boy's palm and lets a drop of diabetic blood fall into the sink. The water instantly turns blue. They choke down a glass of the foul potion each, taking a moment to recover before remembering Mrs. Davis. They rush over and pour the antidote down her throat. Just as the countdown ends with a ding, the oven door swings open, revealing the exit. Lilia complains about having to crawl through an oven, but just then, the glass behind them shatters, and a torrent of seawater floods the room. Without a second thought, they scramble into the oven, making sure to carry Mrs. Davis with them. Like a water park ride, they slide down a channel into an open area, but Mrs. Davis, having received the antidote too late, is already gone. The boy begins digging a grave to bury her. Everyone is worried Alice might be upset by the scene, but she explains that her mother didn't die on the Witches' Road. She died in a fire during a concert tour. The reason she agreed to join Agatha was because her mother had told her before she died that Alice must walk the Witches' Road. Mrs. Davis's death leaves the coven without a green witch, and they can't pass the trials one person short. Agatha decides to break the rules and try to summon another green witch. They stand in a line and chant, adding a list of ridiculous requirements. The new witch should be smart, beautiful, and not politically active. After the ritual, the agent from the beginning claws her way out of the ground. Seeing her, Agatha's head spins. But at this point, point, they can't exactly stuff her back in. The group continues along the only path and sees another lit cabin, but Alice suddenly refuses to go on. She won't enter the cabin and tries to go in another direction, but the house magically repositions itself in front of her. Clearly, entering is not a choice. This door also has a moon phase diagram, this time a waxing gibbous. Once inside, their outfits change again, this time to an 80s disco theme. The room is filled with musical instruments, suggesting it's a recording studio. Having learned from their last experience, they decide not to drink anything. The boy suggests they look for an invitation, which will likely have a new riddle. Lilia stands alone before a mural, wiping her eyes as if lost in thought. Meanwhile, Alice sees a photo of her mother on the wall. The entire house radiates a strange atmosphere. The agent finds a moment alone with Agatha. She says she doesn't know the other witches and suggests they kill them, just like they used to do. Agatha would get their magic, and the agent would take their bodies. But Agatha, in a sly move, secretly turns on the recording studio's microphone. The agent's plan is broadcast to the entire coven. Agatha then loudly rejects the offer. Hearing this, the other witches are ready to confront the agent, but their confrontation is cut short by a deafening noise. The boy had found a note that said, "Play me," and put on a record. The song is The Witch's Road, but it's playing in reverse, making it sound incredibly jarring. Unable to turn it off, Agatha smashes the record player. The house falls silent, except for the steady ticking of a metronome on the piano, signaling the start of the trial. Yet nothing seems to happen. Then Alice suddenly asks if anyone else feels lighter. The others are confused, feeling nothing. But a moment later, Lilia collapses, screaming in pain. Alice quickly draws a circle around her to break the curse. Soon, Jennifer also cries out and falls to her knees, and Alice performs the same ritual for her. Both women have strange marks on their shoulders. The reversed music starts playing again. Alice, struck by a sudden realization, becomes emotional, repeating that she couldn't save her. She pulls down her collar to reveal an old scar. Her mother had the same mark, known in the witch world as a hereditary curse. As she speaks, the boy is also attacked by the curse, but since he's not a coven member, he's just thrown back by the force. How can they break a hereditary curse? Alice glances at the recording equipment on the piano, and Agatha instantly understands her thoughts. They have to sing Lorna's version of The Witch's Road, which is different from the original. It turns out Alice was also at the fire that killed her mother. She should have been burned to ashes, but she survived because Lorna's The Witch's Road is a protection spell. It has been secretly protecting Alice as she grew up. To protect themselves, the coven must now sing it. They each find an instrument they can play and begin to perform The Witch's Road. During the song, the curse appears on Agatha but is quickly suppressed by the music. However, the curse's power grows and flames suddenly erupt around them. Agatha yells at them not to hold back and to play with the spirit of a witch. As the fire intensifies, Alice joins the chorus. In the song, she sees the true form of the demon that cast the curse. Staring it down, she continues to sing, unleashing an incredible energy. Ignoring the demon perched on her shoulder, she finally repels it and wins the trial. The piano opens to reveal the exit, but the boy collapses to the ground, covered in mysterious wounds. Agatha, usually so cold-hearted, becomes uncharacteristically frantic, terrified that something will happen to him. Fortunately, Jennifer, the potion witch, is there and quickly heals his wounds. After her ordeal, Jennifer's abilities have clearly grown. The group decides to rest and wait for the boy to wake up. Jennifer also shares the story of how she lost her magic. It turns out she was an 11th generation herbalist and midwife. She was invited to join the new Greater Boston Obstetric Society to share her expertise, but the society was a trap, and its founder stole her magic. Agatha doesn't join the heart-to-heart, instead staying by the boy's side. He soon regains consciousness and asks if Agatha was the one who put the sigil on him. In truth, not even Agatha can confirm this, as the sigil affects the witch who cast it as well. But the good news is that the sigil will naturally disappear when the time is right. The agent seems to understand why Agatha is so gentle with the boy and feels compelled to remind her that the boy is not hers. Could it be that Agatha sees the boy as her own son? The scene shifts to 1693. Agatha, having betrayed her coven, is tied to a stake for judgment, but she unleashes a burst of power, killing the other witches in a single blow. Although Agatha killed her sister witches, she had a moment of weakness and spared their children. These children, seeking revenge for their mothers, formed a fierce and united coven, the Salem Seven. In the present, the Seven are tracking Agatha. Lilia has already sensed their presence. The spell the group used to summon a green witch inadvertently led the Seven right to them. They have to run, and fast. This calls for witches' brooms. While effective, the brooms have been stigmatized by movies and television, and the group is hesitant to ride them. But with their lives on the line, there's no time for vanity. Just as the boy is about to grab a broom, an owl swoops down and transforms into a witch, tackling him. Alice quickly hits her with a broom, and the others use the opportunity to mount their brooms and escape for their shitty lives. The witches' silhouettes fly across the red moon, the feeling of freedom a welcome memory, but they soon lose their balance and are pulled back down by the witches' road. Just as they are about to collide with one of the Salem Seven, the witch opens her smelly mouth and spews a swarm of hornets. Agatha leads the charge, crashing through them and scrambling desperately into the third trial house. Fortunately, the Salem Seven cannot enter. The group just needs to pass the trial and escape before the Seven catch up. This time the trial is for Agatha. A blood moon hangs outside the window, a time when the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest. Suddenly, a board game jumps out. The boy recognizes it as a Ouija board. A countdown begins on everyone's watch. The boy reads the instructions. With the rules established, they gather around, all placing their hands on the planchette. Agatha cautiously asks the first question, wanting to know who they have the honor of summoning. The planchette begins to move, spelling out the name, Mrs. Davis. Agatha then pretends to be possessed, thrashing her head around wildly like a mad cow. Lilia is almost fooled, but the agent sees through the act and tells Agatha to stop pretending. Embarrassed, Agatha sits back down and they continue the game. This time, the lights flicker and the atmosphere becomes tense. Agatha asks the board what it wants. The planchette moves between the letters, spelling out the word punishment. Lilia then asks who is to be punished. The planchette points to Agatha, but then it goes haywire, darting around the room and emitting a piercing chicken sound that gives everyone a headache. Jennifer yells out to punish Agatha, which finally calms the board. It seems they must punish Agatha to pass this trial. Coincidentally, everyone in the room, except the boy, has some grievance with Agatha. They slowly surround her, contemplating tying her up, but she vanishes in the blink of an eye, and the room plunges into darkness. Something drips onto the boy. He looks up to see Agatha's bruised and discolored face. The next moment, she is crawling on all fours like a mad woman possessed, a scene straight out of The Exorcist. Just as she is about to lunge at the boy, Jennifer calls out to stop her but is grabbed by the throat. Alice rushes to help, while Lilia fumbles to turn on the lights. The moment the lights come on, Agatha disappears, and a white ghost materializes. It is a resident of Salem and Agatha's mother. She was the one who led the coven to try to kill her own daughter. Now she wants the group to abandon Agatha and continue on the witch's road. Agatha approaches her mother, asking why she can't forgive her even in death. Her mother replies that Agatha was born evil and should have been killed at birth. Jennifer argues that they shouldn't get involved in family drama. Since the entity who set the trial has given them permission to leave, there's no need to take Agatha with them. After all, they were just a temporary team, each with their own goals. Seeing the deal is done, the woman possesses her daughter's body again. Alice instinctively rushes to stop her, but her own magic is drained by Agatha. At this critical moment, the boy sees the planchette has reset. He rushes over and asks who is there. This time the answer is Nicholas. Hearing this name, Agatha snaps back to her senses, but Alice is already dead. Agatha tries to explain that she couldn't control her powers, but this time not even the boy believes her. He starts to suspect that Agatha planned to steal the coven's powers from the very beginning. The already fragile group completely falls apart. The boy delivers a soul-crushing question, asking if this is what it means to be a witch, to kill your companions to achieve your goals. He vows he will never become like her. As he speaks, Jennifer and Lilia grab Agatha and throw her heavy body into a swamp. Their eyes glow blue and their behavior is strange. The boy then unleashes a burst of energy, knocking them into the swamp as well. To understand the boy's identity, we must go back 3 years to his 18th birthday. At the time, the boy was named William, a Jewish teen whose parents were throwing him a bar mitzvah party at the Eastview Synagogue. During the party, William snuck over to a fortune teller's booth to learn about his future. The fortune teller turned out to be Lilia. She saw an inverted tower card in William's future, signifying inevitable disaster. She wrote a protective sigil and secretly slipped it into William's coat. The spell took effect immediately, and Lilia forgot the entire encounter. Soon after, party guests received messages about an anomaly in Westview and were told to return home immediately. William, confused, got into the car with his parents and found the sigil in his pocket. He saw a massive red dome covering Westview, the battlefield of Agatha and Wanda. His father, distracted by the sight, nearly collided with an oncoming car. He swerved violently, crashing into a tree. William was severely injured in the back seat, bleeding profusely. Just then, a police car passed by, and his father ran to flag it down for help. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, William heard Wanda saying goodbye to her 2 sons, Tommy and Billy. The next moment, William wakes up from a dream, calling out Tommy's name. It's clear that William has died, and his body is now inhabited by Wanda's son, Billy. At that moment, his father returns with a police officer, the protection witch, Alice. On the way to the hospital, Billy slowly realizes realizes he has been reincarnated into a stranger's body, but thankfully, his mind-reading ability still works. To avoid suspicion, Billy pretends to have amnesia from the car crash. He can sense William's parents' deep sorrow and their fear that their son will never remember his past, so Billy decides to do his best to play the part of William. 3 years pass in the blink of an eye. Billy has grown accustomed to William's life and has even found a soulmate. Billy doesn't want to hide his true self from him, so he confesses that ever since the accident, another soul has been living inside him. After 3 years of living a half-truth, and with the sigil's influence, Billy is no longer sure who he really is. Fortunately, the soulmate is very accepting and doesn't question his seemingly nonsensical story. Billy leads the soulmate into his bedroom, where he has been collecting information for years, trying to figure out what really happened in Westview 3 years ago. He turns on his computer, bypassing the town's skincare channel, and pulls up a video shot by a bystander 3 years ago of the Red Dome. Runic symbols are clearly visible on the barrier, meaning the dome was connected to a spell. On an online forum, Billy finds someone who claims to know what happened and decides to take a risk and meet them. The soulmate, concerned, accompanies him. They go to an underground parking garage and wait a long time before the person shows up. It is Ralph Boner, the fake Quicksilver controlled by Agatha in WandaVision. The events of the past have left Ralph jumpy and paranoid. He mentions that Wanda had 2 children, Billy and Tommy, Speed and his mind-reading brother. Hearing this, Billy starts to piece together his own identity. Ralph also mentions that Agatha is still trapped in Westview. After returning home, Billy begins researching everything he can find about Agatha and learns about the Witch's Road. At that moment, a nearby record player suddenly starts playing Lorna's version of the Witch's Road. Billy feels destiny calling him to this perilous path. A book says that all who reach the end of the Witch's Road will find what they have lost. Since Ralph mistakenly believed Wanda had died, Billy also assumes his parents are gone. He decides to embark on the Witch's Road to find his only remaining family, Tommy. That night, Billy drives to Westview. On the way, he gets a text from the soulmate, who uses a black heart emoji to represent Billy. This connects back to Lilia's prophecy of the final Coven member. Because the sigil prevented the diviner from writing Billy's name, Lilia drew a black heart instead. This means Billy was a member of the Coven all along, and the agent was the real outsider. Back to our story, when Billy finds Agatha in Westview, she is still under Wanda's spell, believing she is just a regular police detective. To break Wanda's curse, Billy needs a personal item of Agatha's. This leads to him stealing her locket, getting caught, and the events of the previous episodes. It's important to note that when Agatha asked for his name, the protective sigil would have activated whether he said William or Billy. Now, the story returns to the present. Agatha, thrown into the swamp by Billy, pulls herself out with a tree branch. She sheds her filthy coat and wipes the foul-smelling mud from her face. At the same time, Billy crushes the identity sigil. Agatha reveals she had suspected something all along, as Billy's aura was identical to Wanda's. It was only when he used his magic that she was certain he was Wanda's son. She admires his ability to reincarnate, seizing any opportunity to live, a true witch. Agatha, unconcerned about her companions in the swamp, invites Billy to finish the Witch's Road with her. Billy insists he doesn't need her help and tries to use his magic, but his earlier display was just a fluke, an emotional outburst that happened to work. He hasn't truly mastered his powers. Meanwhile, Agatha speculates about his reasons for being on the Witch's Road. Since Agatha is also unaware that Wanda is alive, she immediately guesses that Billy wants to find Tommy. With both of them having something to gain, and Billy temporarily unable to use his magic, he agrees to go with her. Agatha tries to ease the tension between them, telling Billy to ask her anything he's curious about, and she'll answer honestly. Billy asks where the agent went, but Agatha dodges the question, telling him to ask something else. She teases that she was his mother's former best friend and knows a lot of juicy details about Wanda, but Billy retorts that Wanda isn't his mother. He has his own mother. It seems Billy is resentful of Wanda for sacrificing her family to save the town. Still, he can't help but ask Agatha if Wanda is really dead. Agatha gives a vague, non-committal answer. As they talk, they arrive at the 4th castle. The moment they step inside, their clothes change into classic Western witch attire. In the center of the room is a set of tarot cards. When Billy reaches to pick them up, an hourglass behind him flips over and a countdown begins. It turns out a tarot reading is this trial's test. Billy, being a novice, randomly places a card in a slot and a sword immediately falls from the ceiling. They realize the ceiling is rigged with dozens of swords. If their readings are wrong, the swords will impale them. Billy nervously places a second card and another sword falls. Agatha, losing patience, grabs the cards and starts placing them randomly. Swords rain down from the ceiling, one nearly hitting Billy. Agatha's simple plan is to keep trying until they either get the right cards in the the right places or all the swords have fallen, but this strategy fails. Once all 6 slots are filled, the ceiling begins to lower. Billy laments that he wishes Lilia were there. At that moment, Lilia and Jennifer are navigating a secret passage. Lilia asks where they are going, and Jennifer, confused, replies that Lilia was the one who told her to take the passage to find a bookshelf and that the boy was Wanda's son, Billy. It turns out Lilia's consciousness is fracturing. A short while ago, she had slipped into another timeline, seeing herself falling through darkness in an elegant gown, which created a gap in her memory. She has forgotten what she told Jennifer. Jennifer also notes that Lilia seems like a different person than she was 5 minutes ago. Just as Lilia is about to argue, her consciousness jumps through time again. She sees Alice, who is still alive, and warns her not to save Agatha. The next second, Lilia's consciousness is back in her hometown hundreds of years ago, sitting across from her divination teacher. The corpse Lilia saw in the first trial was this very teacher. Although Lilia is now trapped in her younger body, her teacher can tell she has come from far away. Lilia confesses she is from a century in the future. Unfazed, the teacher continues the lesson, asking Lilia to perform a tea leaf reading, an art that can glimpse a person's fate. Lilia has always been reluctant to use it, for seeing the future without the ability to change it is a painful burden. Now, she musters the courage to look into the cup, but her consciousness snaps back to the passage. Jennifer, seeing her alternating between confusion and clarity, asks what is happening. Lilia confesses that she has lived a disordered life, with her consciousness jumping randomly through her own timeline. It had gotten better with age, but the closer she gets to the end, the worse it becomes. Jennifer assumes she means the end of the Witch's Road. Suddenly, Lilia's consciousness arrives at the 4th trial. She is about to yell at Billy for throwing her into the swamp when Jennifer steps between them, saying that their personal grievances can wait. Passing the trial is the priority. Billy can't help but ask Lilia if she was the one who placed the sigil on him. Lilia admits that on the night of his bar mitzvah, she saw what would happen to him and the changes he would face. She felt he needed time to adjust, so she created the sigil. Just then, 2 more swords fall, indicating that having no card is just as bad as placing the wrong one. Lilia tries to figure out what went wrong, but her consciousness jumps back to the 3rd trial just as the loud noise began. Then she's back to the day she first met Agatha and the boy in her shop, screaming and clutching her head as she was still reeling from the sonic attack of the 3rd trial. The frequent time jumps are pushing her to the brink. When Lilia opens her eyes, she is back in the past, hundreds of years ago. A moment later, she is back in the passage right after telling Jennifer about her time-traveling ability. Jennifer guesses she has just returned from another trip and asks if she has any new information. At that moment, Lilia finds Billy's lost notebook and secretly pockets it. Unaware of this, Jennifer asks why her condition improved as she got older. Lilia admits it's because she didn't want the ability and had been actively ignoring it. They hear Agatha's voice from nearby and find a bookshelf ahead. The timeline now aligns with Agatha and Billy discovering the lowering ceiling. Lilia and Jennifer burst into the castle. Billy expects them to be furious about the swamp incident, but Lilia has already had her outburst. She gets straight to the point, helping Billy with the reading and telling him to ask his most important question. Billy asks if he is Billy or William. The ceiling stops lowering and Lilia begins to explain the tarot spread. The 6 slots represent 7 meanings. The center is the querent, representing Billy's identity. The first card in front is what is lost, representing the reason for his quest. The top left is the path behind, representing his past wounds and lessons learned. The top right is the path ahead, representing room for growth and discovery. The left is the obstacle, and the right is the unexpected boon. Finally, a card will be placed on top in the center, representing the destination. After her explanation, Lilia tells Billy to clear his mind and focus on his question. For the first card, Identity, Billy draws the Magician, signifying infinite potential and the ability to manifest his goals. But when he places the card, another sword falls. Unwavering, Lilia tells him to draw the next card. For what is lost, he draws the Sun, representing good fortune, joy, and reunion, all things Billy lacks. But another sword falls. Without hesitation, Billy draws a card for the path behind. Lilia then experiences a rapid succession of 3 time jumps, speaking 3 different lines that, when combined, form a single thought that she loves them all. This explains why, in the first trial, Lilia had inexplicably said she loved them all. Now, she is back in the past, asking her teacher where she went wrong. Her teacher asks Lilia why she is truly on the Witch's Road. Lilia says it's to reclaim her magic, but her teacher knows that's not the real reason. The teacher tells Lilia to remember. Lilia hates remembering. 100 years ago, she foresaw her teacher's death and that her entire coven would be wiped out by a fever, but she was powerless to change the future and could only watch as everyone died. Her teacher tells her that death is inevitable and will come for her too. Before her final fall, she should think about how she wants to spend the time she has left. Lilia has an epiphany. She instantly returns to the moment she and Jennifer fell into the passage and tells Jennifer everything she knows. This is why, at the beginning of the scene, Jennifer knew about the trial's content, Billy's identity, and the search for the bookshelf. Now, Lilia has pieced together the clues and returns to the moment she fell into the swamp. Two paths lie before them, one leading out of the Witch's Road and the other a passage to the bookshelf. Suddenly, the Salem 7 fly past, also searching for Agatha. The two wait for them to leave before emerging. Lilia decides to go back and save Agatha by passing her fourth trial. Jennifer ultimately decides to join her. The scene shifts back to the tarot table. Carved into it are the words saying her road winds out of time. This refers to Lilia herself. She can no longer run from her abilities. In this trial, the true querent is not Billy, but Lilia. She draws the first card for her own identity. Lilia places the Queen of Cups in the slot, and for the first time, no sword falls, though the ceiling continues to descend. Next is what is lost, the Three of Pentacles. Lilia sees herself on the day she was being evicted and forced to join Agatha. The card's meaning is cooperation, social gatherings, and the harmony of unique voices, referring to their newly formed coven. The third card, the Path Behind, represents lessons learned, the Knight of Wands. Lilia sees Alice dying to save Agatha. Death is undoubtedly the greatest lesson. The card's meaning is fiery passion and heroic defiance. The fourth card, the Path Ahead, represents growth, the High Priestess. Lilia sees her first meeting with Jennifer, hinting that Jennifer will lead them to the end. The card's meaning is great psychic power, either unable or unwilling to be used. The fifth card is the Three of Swords. It represents the night Billy was injured, and Agatha's heartbreak and resolve. The card's meaning is heartbreak, sorrow, and grief. The sixth card, the Unexpected Boon, is the Tower reversed. It represents William meeting Lilia at his bar mitzvah, the event that started everything. The card's meaning is disaster, destruction, and a miraculous transformation. Finally, the destination. Lilia's consciousness returns to the moment she fell into the passage. A dark figure emerges. It is Death. This signifies that Lilia's journey will ultimately lead to her death. With the cards now in place, the ceiling rises. Lilia asks Agatha if the agent is Death. At this point, Agatha has to admit it. Just then, the voices of the Salem 7 are heard in the distance. Lilia urges the others to leave and tells Agatha a cryptic message that if Death calls her a coward, she should get down. Then, Lilia returns the notebook to Billy and prepares to stay behind and face the 7. Those who pass a trial but do not leave will bring misfortune upon themselves. Lilia flips the inverted tower card and the entire space turns upside down. The Salem 7 are lifted to the ceiling and impaled on the swords. Finally, Lilia lets go, completing her fall. She has found herself again and filled in her blank memories. Now, it's time to talk about the agent's identity as Death. The scene cuts back to the third trial house. Alice awakens from a dream to find her physical body dead. Death is there to take her away, but Alice doesn't understand why her time was so short. Death's words bring her clarity, reminding her that she is a protection witch. Her purpose is to die protecting others. Alice finally accepts her fate and follows Death into the afterlife. With Alice's soul collected, Death still has Lilia and the Salem 7 to deal with. Seeing the pile of bodies should have pleased Death, but she is furious at Agatha for deceiving her and hiding Billy's identity. Death wants to know what the boy truly wants from the Witch's Road. Agatha confesses that Billy wants to find Tommy. Death reveals that Tommy's soul is not in the underworld. The Scarlet Witch's son stole a chance at rebirth, and she cannot allow Billy to do the same for Tommy. Agatha suggests she just kill him, but the problem is, Death can't kill Billy. If he dies, he will simply be reincarnated and lost in the sea of humanity. The only way is to make Billy surrender to Death willingly. After some thought, Agatha agrees to help Death on the condition that afterward, Death will not pursue her until her natural end. Death hesitates, then agrees. She slashes open a curtain and disappears from the Witch's Road. The remaining three regroup and press on, but with Death gone, they are missing a green witch. Agatha says a potion witch's earth magic is close enough to a green witch's, so Jennifer will suffice. Just then, she trips over some shoes on the ground. They are back at the beginning. The very shoes they first took off are right in front of them. It seems the Witch's Road is a circle, with the end being the beginning. But Agatha's magic hasn't returned. Even Billy is angry. They took off their shoes as a sign of respect, but now that the road isn't playing fair, he doesn't feel like being respectful anymore. He puts his shoes on and is instantly transported into a body bag. The three of them find themselves in a uniquely shaped, sealed room, dressed in patient gowns. This must be the final trial. The foundation of green magic is the cycle of life, constant growth and decay. Above them are grow lights, meaning the challenge is to create life without soil or water. The lights going out one by one serves as the countdown. Jennifer is unusually calm. She wants to honor Lilia's memory by helping them pass the final trial. Agatha scoffs, asking how a witch with no magic could possibly save them. Jennifer is still bitter about the Boston doctor who stole her magic and begins recounting the story of how she was ambushed and stripped of her powers. Hearing this, Agatha's expression changes. Jennifer catches this and instantly realizes Agatha was that doctor. She immediately binds Agatha with her hair, and her magic flows back into her. After a century, she feels her long-lost power again. Jennifer can't help but cry with joy. Billy is about to congratulate her when Jennifer suddenly vanishes. Agatha explains that Jennifer has found what she had lost and has therefore left the witch's road. Agatha then gets an idea. She wants magic, and Billy has magic. If Billy gives her his magic, wouldn't that solve everything? Billy quickly shuts down her fantasy, pointing out that while it would be great for her, he would be left to die. As the lights above them continue to extinguish, Agatha tells Billy she knows how to find Tommy. She has Billy sit with her and guides him in using his magic to sense the world. In a trance, Billy sees a drowning boy. The poor child is being held underwater by bullies and is moments from death. Then, Tommy's soul is placed inside the drowning boy's body. With his wish fulfilled, Billy leaves the witch's road. The ground cracks from the surge of power, and now only Agatha is left. It seems she sacrificed herself to save Billy after all. Agatha removes the locket she always wears and takes out the lock of her son's hair. A miracle occurs. A dandelion seed is stuck inside the locket. The cracked floor reveals soil beneath. She waters the seed with her tears, buries it, and under the light of the last remaining grow lamp, the dandelion sprouts and blooms. The ceiling cracks, the room shakes, and Agatha scrambles up a staircase, emerging from her own backyard. Death, betrayed, is waiting for her, vowing to take her soul. Agatha prepares to fight, but realizes her magic still hasn't returned. Another anomaly appears over Westview, causing panic among the residents. Agatha tries to draw a magic circle to banish the threat, but death is the natural order of all things. A simple circle can't stop her. Although Lilia's prophecy helps Agatha dodge a fatal blow, without magic, she is no match for death. At this critical moment, Billy arrives, now dressed in his classic comic book costume. Knowing he can't beat death, he attacks Agatha instead, hoping she will absorb some of his magic. This is akin to placing his life in her hands. As power surges through her, Agatha returns to her former glory. This time she keeps her promise, releasing Billy just before he is completely drained. Death swats him aside and focuses on Agatha. Billy watches the two battle from behind the glass of a greenhouse. Despite her best efforts, Agatha is no match for Death. Billy rushes to check on her, but Agatha tells him that Death only wants one of them, and the one who should die is her. Billy is deeply moved by this. He stands up and tells Death to take him, that he is willing to sacrifice himself. But upon hearing this, Agatha wipes the blood from her face and tells Death that she didn't break her promise. Billy has now willingly surrendered to Death, and Death can take him. Billy's heartfelt gesture was all for nothing. The truth is, Agatha was willing to die for him, but if there was even a sliver of a chance to save herself, she would always choose herself first. Agatha has always been a complex character, a mix of good and evil. She lets out a laugh, ready to leave, but is stopped by Billy's voice in her mind. Using his telepathy, he asks if that is how her son Nicholas died. This soul-piercing question finally shatters Agatha's resolve. In the end, she embraces death, ending her long life. Agatha falls to the earth, turning into grass and trees. Billy picks up her locket and leaves Westview, returning to William's home. It has only been 24 hours since he left. Back in his room, Billy changes clothes and suddenly notices that the room's decor is familiar. Everything corresponds to a setting from the Witch's Road. He remembers Agatha saying the Witch's Road doesn't exist, and that his identity card was the Magician, meaning the ability to turn goals into reality. He looks at the painting of a house from the first trial, the board game from the third, and the shoes on his floor. Wanda's chaos magic could alter reality. Billy is indeed his mother's son. The so-called Witch's Road was something he had subconsciously created with his own power. At this moment, the story jumps to 1750. A heavily pregnant Agatha is giving birth in a forest. But instead of a baby, Death arrives. This means Agatha's child will be stillborn. She begs Death for mercy. While Death cannot change fate, she loves Agatha and makes an exception, extending the baby's life. Agatha successfully gives birth to a baby boy and names him Nicholas. She loves him with all her heart. Using the pitiable image of a widow and orphan, she travels, luring in and killing witches who offer her help. By the time Nicholas Nicholas is 6, he is already helping his mother lure witches to their doom. But the young Nicholas doesn't understand why his mother has to kill them. Agatha coldly explains it's for survival. If you don't kill them, they will find a way to kill you. Not understanding the grim reality, Nicholas hums a little tune he made up. This tune is the precursor to the Witch's Road. As Nicholas grows, so does Agatha's fear. She doesn't know when death will return or how long Nicholas has left to live. She can only cherish every day with her son. She even helps him write lyrics for his tune, and together they complete the Witch's Road. Agatha has Nicholas pretend to be an orphan, singing in taverns to earn money and lure kind-hearted witches to their deaths. But Nicholas no longer wants to hunt them and runs out of a tavern, defying her plan. That evening, sensing his mother's anger, he promises to kill more witches the next day. But Agatha isn't angry. Instead, she sings to him and holds him as he falls asleep. She doesn't know that this is Nicholas's last day. Death is already beckoning to him from the darkness. Nicholas gives his mother 2 kisses, takes Death's hand, and leaves the forest. When the first rays of sunlight touch the earth, Agatha wakes from her dream to find the Nicholas in her arms is cold as stone. She weeps as she buries her son, singing The Witch's Road and placing a lock of his hair in her locket. Suddenly, a strange woman appears and asks Agatha if she knows the way to the Witch's Road. Agatha's expression shifts from confusion to understanding. Over the years, the song has spread and is now believed to be the key to opening the Witch's Road. Witches truly believe the lyrics, thinking the road offers tempting rewards. A cunning plan forms in Agatha's mind. She says she certainly knows the way to the Witch's Road and is willing to lead the woman there, but first, they need to form a coven. Using the legend of the Witch's Road, Agatha tricks witches with various powers into gathering, then claims some are unworthy to walk the path, deliberately provoking them into attacking her so she can absorb their powers. As the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. With this one enticing legend, Agatha has killed countless witches who sought to fulfill their desires. This continued until she tried the same trick on Lilia and her group, only for the Witch's Road to actually appear. Only Agatha knew this road shouldn't exist, which is why she realized Billy was no ordinary boy. The story returns to the present. Billy, having understood everything, is shaken. He hears Agatha's sinister laugh and turns around to see her ghost. He asks if he was the one who created the Witch's Road, indirectly causing the deaths of Mrs. Davis, Alice, and Lilia. Agatha clarifies that she killed Alice, and Lilia's death was her own choice. As for Mrs. Davis, Agatha couldn't care less. She comforts Billy by telling him he at least saved one person. In Westview, Jennifer emerges from a patch of grass. She looks at the setting sun as if reborn, then uses her magic to leave. Agatha says she had planned to kill them all in the basement on the first day, but it was Billy's Witch's Road that gave them a chance for enlightenment and gave Jennifer a new life. Then Agatha repeats a line she told her son centuries ago: if you want to be a witch, you have to get used to this feeling. But Billy strongly resists the idea. Later, Billy returns to Westview and goes back to Agatha's basement, where the door to the Witch's Road still stands. He begins to draw a magic circle on the floor. Agatha asks what he is doing, but Billy remains silent. Agatha isn't necessarily clinging to him, but her locket, a part of her, is in his possession, and she can't leave without it. Looking at the completed circle, Agatha realizes Billy intends to banish her. The dead should go where they belong. Billy ignores Agatha's pleas and protests and begins chanting the spell. As she starts to fade, Agatha finally tells the truth. She is afraid to face Nicholas. She picks up the fallen locket and puts it on. Billy senses Agatha's love for her son. In the end, they reach an agreement. Billy allows Agatha to stay by his side as a ghostly mentor. He then casts a spell to seal the Witch's Road, carving the names of the sacrificed into the floor. As one door closes, another is sure to open. Together they will search for Tommy, taking the first step into a new chapter. And here this season's story ends. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.